So, for my PowerPoint over infancy, I wanted to talk about the first step, which is development. There are 5 different types of development I wanted to go through. The first one is physical, and these are normally milestones that happen during the stages of their infancy, and normally it happens in a pattern. So, we start with, rolling over, crawling, then we move to walking. Also, during this, they're starting to reach for things, grab things, grip things, and these normally all happen in the physical development stage. Next, we have sensory and perceptual. Sensation is a translation of external stimulation, and normally what this is when we start to see them aroused by something or noticing something, their eye movement, when they're noticing things happening around them. Perceptual is an active process of interpreting information from their senses. So it's kind of when we notice our infants are starting to realize what certain things mean. So when they are realizing a bottle means that they're going to be fed, or when they realize lights off mean they're going to bed. Those kind of connections that they start to make. Cognitive is our thinking. That is when the child starts to understand things, when they start to realize mom and connect it with the word, or when they're starting to make their own connections from information that they're noticing around them. Language development. This is a huge one because we're learning that our kids are starting to hear things and say those things. It's a lot of imitating. When they hear something, now in infancy, this starts with normally just cries, but their cries do go to meaning things. When they cry for I'm hungry versus a different cry, which means I'm tired, versus we hear a different cry when their diaper needs changing. So that's how infants start to communicate. Their cries and their level of cries, the octave that they're crying, that's how we kind of tell what they're meaning. Emotional. This is not as popular in infancy because a lot of crying is their way of communicating, so it's not really an emotional thing, but their crying can mean emotional things too. You have to be able to tell if it's hungry, tired, or if they're really upset about something, they don't feel well. All of those different kinds of things will come from crying. Next, temperament. This is a huge thing that connects with emotional. The styles of temperament are easy, and this is 40% of children, and these are moods usually are positive and seldom explosive. Regular basic routines such as sleeping and eating, adapt easily to new people and situations. Those are our kids that are very chill, very calm. They can be passed around, they don't cry, they don't need mommy all the time, and that's 40% of children. Difficult is about 10% of children. They cry often, express other negative moods, irregular and basic routines, react to change with difficulty and slowness. Slow to warm up is about 15%. It has positive and negative moods, usually mild and moderate to regular basic routines, react negatively to new people and situations initially, but can successfully adjust over time. 35% are others, and that's when they display a combination of easy, difficult, slow to warm up. So most of our children are kind of a mix, or easy, which I think is actually really interesting. I did not know most children were easy to warm up. A big thing that will play a role in that is trust. During this stage, infants learn if they can depend on people around them and if their social environment is consistent and predictable. That is very important in an infant's life to make sure they have something that they can count on. That will also play a role into their attachment. And the infants also begin to form relationships with their caregivers. The first relationship is most definitely the most influential. This occurs between infants and mothers or their primary caregiver. The emotional bond is called the attachment. There's 2 different kinds of attachments that I wanted to talk about: secure attachment and insecure attachment. When they're secure, it's when a strong emotional bond between a child and caregiver is developed because they have a responsive caregiver that is actively involved in the infant's life. An insecure attachment, it comes from results of an inconsistent or unresponsive caregiving. There are 3 forms of attachment. A resistant attachment, this can be when a child becomes angry when the mother leaves and avoids her when she returns. An avoidant attachment, the child responds to mother seeking and rejecting affection, and rejecting affection can become upsetting to the child when the mother leaves the room. Disorganized and disoriented attachment, the child behaves in confused ways, such as avoiding the mother's gaze while being held or coming to her with no visible emotion. The effects of this attachment can be very, very strong. Studies have compared infants with secure versus insecure attachment and have found dramatic differences in the personality and social development. Some problems that can happen is infants who fail to form secure attachment often experience a variety of problems ranging from difficulty adjusting to problems and social behaviors. So overall, I think the most important part of infancy development is most definitely that they have trust and they have a secure attachment to their mom and caregivers, because this is a very crucial time for them. It's as they're developing a bond with you, and I think that that is a very key part of infancy. Thank you.